Well, tonight, Republican candidates will go head-to-head in Las Vegas, Nevada for the last presidential debate of the year.
And there will be plenty for the candidates to chew on after a fairly eventful month. No issue, of course, getting more attention than terrorism and foreign policy. The latest Washington Post ABC poll has Donald Trump with a 38% lead versus Ted Cruz at 14% and Ben Carson at 11%.
And joining us now from the spin room in Las Vegas is Mark Halperin, Bloomberg Politics managing editor. Mark, this is going to be the first GOP debate since we've seen that spate of terror attacks in Paris as well as California. How's that going to change the tenor?
Well, look, national security was always going to be a big part of this debate. It's a huge issue for Republican voters, even more so now in the wake of Paris and San Bernardino. And I think you're going to see a debate not only on policy differences between the candidates, but simply the question of who's big enough to be commander-in-chief, who's big enough in terms of the electoral context to take on Hillary Clinton, who, of course, is giving her own speech today on how to deal with all aspects of the current fight against terrorism, which is, for voters right now, the dominant issue for Americans. It's all, the economy's big, but that's big, too.
Right. The dominant issue, especially because of all the headlines, today's event in Los Angeles as well. What candidate does this help? Does this focus on national security help, and who does it hurt?
Well, it helps Donald Trump, at least based on the current polls, as he's talked more about terror. If you look at our polling as well as other national polling, you see that voters rate him strongest to deal with these issues on not so much policy, although there are some policy elements to it, but on just a question of strength. Marco Rubio is known as someone whose strength is national security issues, foreign policy. He's got a chance to step up. Ted Cruz has also been rated highly on these issues. The person who's clearly been a loser as these issues have come to the fore has been Ben Carson. And I think tonight is an opportunity for him to try to convince people, again, that he should be in the dialogue, he should be in the discussion, even with national security at the forefront.
And you mentioned Ted Cruz, and the other big difference in the debate is how well Ted Cruz is polling in Iowa in the latest Bloomberg poll. What can we see that's different from him? Where is he going to try and suck votes from? Or who, I should say.
I think Ted Cruz tonight will be probably pretty similar to how he was in the previous debates, somewhat under the radar. We've talked about it in the wake of the previous Republican debates, but he hasn't gotten much attention or much focus up until now. I think Donald Trump, whatever Trump does to go after Cruz, and he may or may not do that tonight, I think Cruz will continue to try to turn the other cheek, focus on Republican voters, attacking the media, and trying to convince people that he's ready to be president. Ted Cruz, I think, tonight is going to be seen in a different light, even though his performance will probably be pretty much the same as it's been. He's a very consistent performer.
You mentioned Hillary Clinton making an announcement today. Warren Buffett, of course, expected to stump for her and appear at that public event. To what extent does that showcase the fact that a lot of the Republican candidates don't have a Warren Buffett type figure who's out there making a mark because they're so divided still?
Well, look, the Republican Party has 15 candidates, and so you're going to see, even in the business community, no sense of coalescing or consensus about who the candidate should be. Warren Buffett is obviously an iconic business leader, but there's a lot of business people up for grabs, and one of the challenges for the Republican nominee to try to have a chance, assuming Hillary Clinton is the Democratic nominee, is can they find someone who becomes the consensus choice of business in America? 2008, during the financial crisis, John McCain lost a lot of very prominent business people because of his performance after the fall of Lehman and during the crisis in general. As much as national security is a focus, all these Republicans, Trump, Rubio, Cruz, everybody, they're still trying to become the candidate of big business. There's a downside to that in this populist era, but without a doubt, the Republicans are going to have a better chance to win a general election against Hillary Clinton if they can say, we're the candidate who business likes, who thinks the Republican nominee understands how the market works.